we can't address Islam without dealing with Baghdad. Now, in 750, the Umayyads were overthrown by the Abbasids, who claimed relations to an uncle of Muhammad, Abbas, and they established a new capital and city at Baghdad. Now, Baghdad is unusual when they set it up, because they actually set it up, and this is obviously an artist's depiction, as a round city. It's laid out round to actually reflect that it's the center of the universe, and to Islam it is. And it's more than that. It's not just a political center, because the rulers will actually use their wealth on art, literature, and science. And what we're going to see is one of the largest libraries in the world existing in Baghdad. So what's going to happen in Baghdad is they will bring in almost every book they can lay their hands on, and then scholars at a series of schools throughout the city, Arabic scholars or Islamic scholars, will translate those works into Arabic, and then they're added to the library. Oftentimes, the originals will be sent back elsewhere. And this is a massive undertaking. This is a massive library. In fact, much of what we get from the Greeks and the Romans, a lot of the literature that is from the ancient Western tradition that would have been lost during the medieval period and the so-called Dark Ages, is preserved not only in Baghdad, but other Islamic centers of learning, such as Granada, which we'll get to a little bit later. So the center, we see this translation of numerous Greek texts in Baghdad. Now, unfortunately, this library is not going to last long because the Mongols will get involved. Between 1255 and 1260, they invade Islam in the Middle East. And they do so because emissaries of Genghis Khan are mistreated. There's a whole story behind that. But in 1258, they will lay siege to Baghdad. And it's very interesting because when you read the Muslim accounts of what happens in Baghdad, it's not the usual Western, the streets ran red with blood, but rather they refer to the river running black with the ink of books. Really changes the way that you think about Islam in this period. Now, we'll see a shift in Islam, but at this point, at the point that the Mongols come into Baghdad, arguably Baghdad is the center of education and intellectual life, science, mathematics, etc. in the world. I mean, remember what we're dealing with, what period we're dealing with. In the 12th century, you don't see the same scope happening off in Europe. So just one of those things to keep in mind as we move forward.